everybody. It is fantastic to be back on this stage. It's been a year since standing here in the UK, sharing a training slot, and well, the clue is I've brought tissues onto the stage with me today, so I hope you go with me for this 25 minutes, and if I get a little bit vulnerable, feel free to get vulnerable with me. So, one of the questions I ask myself on a daily basis, and I can say this with real conviction, why is my forever career so important to me? And that is on the forefront of my mind. It was on the forefront of my mind while I sat on a beach after the Eagle Manager retreat in another resort for a couple of days, gathering my own thoughts about what I'd heard, capturing that sunset. And why my career is so important to me is it's my life. We spend so much of our time, our hours every day creating a life through a career. So I want mine to be about happiness, to be doing something that I am truly passionate about. And at the same time, while I'm asking myself that question, I'm often looking in the mirror, taking a little look at what I see. There's some days where I'm proud. There's other days where it's not the version of me I want to see. It's becoming a habit of redesigning myself, who I am, the time I spend with people, working out how I can give more, how I can be more, and as a result, helping lots of people have more. One of the hardest things I still find tough to work through, and I'm starting to accept maybe this will never lose me, but I have and I am a life that has become a culmination of the decisions I've made. Now, it's not all bad. There's plenty of good attached to that. There's plenty of fulfillment. But responsibility and taking responsibility for my life, my actions, the impact I have on others is becoming something that I'm living with every day. So to keep my career history brief, I spent 15 years working for what I believe to be the best retailer in the UK. There were moments throughout that 15-year career where other offers came along, other retailers, where the offer was more attractive, there was more income attached. But I never ever left. And the reason why I didn't, the values John Lewis had at a retailer were in line with the values I wanted to live my life by. Sometimes that little bit more in the pay packet wasn't worth sacrificing the people I spent time with and the environment and the leaders I was lucky enough to work with. Now, retailing was great, but I had an aspiration to run my own business. That's what I always wanted to do. But I just hadn't been true to myself until the autumn of 2013, where I was ready to be braver and to start building my own business. So it wasn't just about the discovery of world-class product, although I was very impressed by our products. I was very curious about why they weren't on a retail shelf, because they were that good. The reason why I was prepared to make a decision to start my career with Forever Living Products was as a result of the man and the mission statement you see on screen. You see, for me, this was about sacrificing one career for another. And why I held on to that John Lewis career for so long was because of how it made me feel, the safety and the values of what that business was built on. So when I took a look at Forever Living Products, It felt very safe and it felt very familiar to what I respected in business. And that's one of the reasons why it was forever. And it would never, ever have been any other company in the network marketing industry. I wanted a company with over 35 years experience. I wanted them to be incredibly mature in decision making, in their infrastructure. I wanted them to have experienced some highs, some lows, although as we know, there's not that many lows in forever. While one country booms, another country might be consolidating. But consistently, we've seen this brand grow and grow. So those are some of the reasons why I decided to plant my flag in line with Rex and his team. Now, building a business wasn't just about me. There's some people in the audience today who I've been lucky enough to work with more closely. Some of that's where I've been looking for help, where I've been a novice. Sometimes it's when I've been vulnerable. Sam Pierce, Louise Evans, you got those messages last week linked to online launching and helped me. Thank you for that. So I had to surround myself with the right people. Now, outside of my mum being the first person to join my team, it was then about getting serious about what did I need around me. And the lady you see on screen, Beth Turner, there's no coincidence why that phone call went to Beth. We've always been aligned on our values in terms of how we work with people, our decisions, responsibility, happiness, and understanding the value of that to us, but also being prepared to work to be the best versions of ourselves. But Beth had plenty of skill sets that I didn't have, and I wasn't brave enough, and I didn't want this to be lonely to do this journey on my own. So there were 4 things that really played a key part in me getting started, getting beyond, getting to supervisor in the first 3 months, and then the whole business slipping away because I wasn't duplicating that first steps to manager. So I'm okay with saying in December 2013, I didn't actually achieve 4 case credits. I achieved 1. You know, I wasn't doing what I needed to do. So I had to get serious about 4 things. That was making a decision. It was finding courage. It was having vision. And it was about working. So the decision was about choosing to make forever my career. I'd done my planning with Natalie. I'd committed to some goals that I thought were acceptable, but, you know, they didn't move my heart. I wasn't emotionally attached. So I had to be honest, and that was one of those looking in the mirror moments. So the decision I made at that time was forever would be my new career. I was going to trade one career for another. And I was going to break that down into hundreds of little pieces that became stepping stones to get there. Courage was about overcoming all sorts of obstacles and fears. And I'll come on to talk about what some of those fears were. Over 3 years on, I'm still as vulnerable about some of those today as I was then. But I've learned that I just have to get hold of fear and work with it a different way rather than being frightened. Vision, creating the wildest dreams and not being frightened to say out loud what some of those dreams are, even if it did make me giggle. Because what's the worst that can happen? I actually get there, or I get halfway there. That's got to feel better than carrying the regret of what I wasn't brave enough to commit to. And then work. You know, when I started my forever career, I had a 50-hour-a-week other career that paid the bills. So I had to work with real respect. Some of you know my story, and I didn't use social media at all in the first year. I didn't have a business page on Facebook till I got to Sapphire Manager. So I wanted to follow the processes and the first steps to manager, but my business had to be about good, solid relationships. But creating a forever career around a 50-hour-a-week career was very much about having a structure. It was about being uber organized and being really grateful for those quick wins every day. It might have just been a phone call one day. It might have been a new gel drinker. It might have been being brave enough to say I was a network marketer. Any one day in isolation looked totally and utterly insignificant. But the 2 hours or more a day I was spending on the M56 motorway became my time to listen to music. Today I walked on to Belinda Carlisle, Live Your Life, Be Free. How mad's that? But I went through a stage of listening to some 80s music that would just reduce me to tears. And in that car, in that rush hour traffic, I could just get into this little dream bubble, which felt like safety. And that was part of what fueled the work I did. So there was one big goal, and that big goal was to leave that corporate career behind. There I am, working the last Friday evening on the 20th of February, 2015. I worked the late night, I locked up the shop, and the commitment I had to myself to the end of my John Lewis career is I wanted to leave a legacy that reflected my 15 years contribution and never let my forever career compromise that until I'd created space for forever. So I'm grateful and I'm proud, and I actually never thought I would jump. I didn't actually think I had it in me. Often it felt like I was about to jump off this cliff face and there was no dinghy at the bottom to save me. But over time, 18 months, I reprogrammed and re-educated my brain, and it's amazing what we can achieve. I'm sure there's people sat in the audience today who thought they couldn't do something, but you did. So the dynamic of the business changed. Gary had always been a part of Forever silently, but at the very beginning he wasn't sure whether this would be his chosen career. But he was always there in the background and always supporting. But we had an opportunity to work our career together when I'd left John Lewis from the March of 2015. And what's worked so well with Beth, Gary, myself, is we're all very aligned with the same values. So we might be different individuals, very different at times. But some of our greatest successes will always happen behind closed doors, and the values of how we work together, staying true to ourselves and staying true to the team we're lucky enough to work with, is where we're fully aligned. So this is one of the favorite quotes that Gary and I have. It's impossible to live without failing at something, unless you live so cautiously that you might as well have not lived at all. In which case, you fail by default. Every time I hear J.K. Rowling say that, it really does make the hairs on my arm stand on end. The life that Gary and I had was filled with moments of failure. I'm not here today to talk about our story, but in the moment where a business impacted on Gary, which meant that he had gone bankrupt, between us, we weren't just bankrupt in material things and money. We were bankrupt in terms of confidence, belief, and pride. We believe that failure gives you the opportunity to stand back up, to dust yourself off, and to go again. So one of our first goals together was to create a Sapphire Manager business. Why? because of the income attached that would create peace of mind, stability, and would help us get our life back on track. What it also meant was we could give back to family. We could have a holiday together, which is where we went in the August. We went straight to the Maldives after achieving Sapphire Manager to rebuild and to celebrate. We got a lot closer to Gary's nephews, and I got to spend some time with my niece as well. I never believed in the July we could do Sapphire, but it's amazing when you break that plan down again, what you can do. And really what that Gem bonus did for us is it funded our development. It funded our self-development. And a lot of my self-development in my forever career has happened abroad. Some people will say, oh, Gemma and Gary have got a massive business in Dubai. Rubbish. We haven't got the biggest business. We may never have the biggest business there. That was never the goal. So this was written on the 26th of January this year. I'd been a Sapphire Manager for 8 months, something like that. And this is why Sapphire Manager and the Middle East has become really important. This is a personal journal, and it's a journal that at that time used to go with me so I could capture how I was feeling. So I wrote 6 pages when I sat on the plane on the 26th of January. And one of the third things I wrote about was killing anxiety. And I'd like to share with you today, not all, but some of what I wrote down and some of what I was experiencing. I thought I'd cracked my anxiety, but it's beating me today. As I write this, As I write this, I'm sat with tears in my eyes, tears of fear, frustration, and determination to kill the feeling of being anxious. In the airport, the thoughts started to kick in. How am I going to survive the holiday? If I'm anxious here, I'm going to be so poorly in Dubai airport with anxiety and praying I'll make it to the hotel feeling well. Gary could spot my nerves a mile off. He could see the Gemma look of fear before I mentioned it today. And in true Gary style, he said, "You've not failed. It's not you, it's just your mind." So I'm sitting here writing this thinking, come on, Gemma, with about a zillion exclamation marks. Today's biggest lesson, stop fighting and putting pressure on yourself. Focus on improvements and tackle Joburg so that you can experience a brilliant safari, enjoy it, and look back with magic moments you deserve to have. So sometimes when you see pictures on social media, or you bump into people and you get to know them, sometimes you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. I've always battled with anxiety all of my life, really, when I look back now. Nobody knew about that in my John Lewis career. When I went to Singapore, it really got the better of me and I struggled. Forever has tested every little bit of me. So much so that I had to get control of it. What the Middle East has allowed me to do this year is to have a peaceful environment, seek clarity on who I am, test my boundaries, presenting, working with different people, where there wasn't a relationship, where there wasn't any massive risk attached. And it's given me some recuperation time. So that's what Sapphire Manager has done for Gary and I. Now, in exchange, look at what I also got. A shed load of friends internationally. Some of those people on the screen are in my life, Gary's life, every single week. And what they've helped me to do, and I was in a position in Johannesburg where I enjoyed that trip. I wasn't anxious. My journal entry didn't sound anything like what it did on the 26th of January. So letting go of fear has become a massive thing for me this year. This is one of my best friends from school, Rebecca. I've been friends with her for 25 years. It was her wedding in Gibraltar on the 28th of July this year. Now, the other friends who are going as part of that trip are friends who still to this day can't get their head around why I left a John Lewis career behind. They don't understand network marketing, they don't agree with network marketing, and my relationship with them has changed. I've really struggled with that. This trip tested every bit of me because I went without Gary, because that was just a girl's thing. But do you know what? When I got there, what I realized is Rebecca, who is a frontline manager in our business, has got a beautiful, beautiful heart. And that's why I went. And in exchange, I spent some time with those friends. And I'm grateful, actually, for what they've tested in me, because what I realized is that really was a fear. The reality is I was totally equipped to deal with that. So since that moment of going out to Gibraltar, I would say my business has really slowed down. It's had to slow down to speed up. The dynamics in the UK have changed. We've seen that. Maybe the pace of your business has changed. Maybe like Gary and I, you haven't hit your goals this year. Maybe you've had to move some of the timelines. But while the business has slowed down, it hasn't meant that the work has stopped. And the biggest amount of work has been on me. Now, I didn't know Beth was capturing this photo in Greece. But I've learned now how to meditate. I never thought I'd do that. I used to think Natalie Valenti was crazy doing stretches and things like that. But I've learned that that's good for me. My diet's changed. My sleeping pattern's changed. I'm looking at the business with a really clear head about what 2017 will be. Now, on that same beach where I took the sunset shot in Greece, what I also did was immerse myself in the pebbles beneath my feet. And Beth, Gabby, and myself, who were on that beach that night, picked up a pebble, and we made it our pledge to write something with a very glamorous Tipp-Ex pen. Who carries a Tipp-Ex pen around with them in their handbag? Oh yeah, that'll be me, how sad. But we said we would put something on there which was our commitment to ourselves and our mantra going forward. This is my mantra: be you. The only thing I'm capable of is being a good Gemma Easdon. That's all I know how to do. There's millions and billions of people around me in this big population, and everybody deserves to have their mantra on their pebble. But this is what I get out of bed every day and think about: me. Am I being me? And if at any moment I'm not, because I'm trying to please somebody else, or I'm trying to be something I'm not, I stop. And this is something I would think about a lot when I'm sitting quietly reflecting about where I want to go to. And am I happy with where I am in my career at the moment? No, because I want more. I've got bigger goals. There's more I want to achieve. There's more I want to do. My pebble isn't smooth enough yet. I need to ride many, many more storms I want to be well more weathered and have more character. But look at what my forever career has given me up till now. So many happy memories, more time with family. I've been able to move back to the Northeast after being away for 10 years. I can now pop and have coffee with my mum. I invited her for tea 2 weeks ago. I've never been able to do that in 10 years. To some of you in the audience, that might be tiny. To me, it was massive. So many memories. And if that's what my career's given me so far, then how lucky am I? So my question as we draw this session to a close is, why is your forever career important to you? 3 questions I'd love you to consider. And I make no apologies for how hard-hitting some of these questions are, and I make no apologies if it does make you tremble a bit or it makes you cry. Who are you willing to become at the risk of being seen? What are you willing to say at the risk of being heard? And what are you willing to let go of to make space for something that's greater? Every single one of us deserves to have the best life we can create. We deserve, when we're writing our journal on our life, to be writing chapters maybe full of fear, full of moments where we fall down and stand back up, and chapters with celebration. So my biggest wish for you today is the same wish I have for myself. I'm sending you every bit of love from my heart today to yours. Can you really fail by being you? Be you. Write your story. Be proud of every twist and turn. And be so grateful for every stepping stone we make, good, bad, or indifferent. Sending you loads of love, a fabulous Christmas, and a very prosperous 2017. Thank you.